Well, why are many politicians in the United States calling for having the refugees, what you call the refugees, which are really Islamic fighters for the most part, be brought into the United States? There's like J.P. Morgan says, a man always has two reasons: a good reason and a real reason. The good reason is to help them escape the turmoils of their country, right? The real reason is they're trying to bring in radical Muslims into this country for the specific reason is to create as much havoc as possible so that they can bring about change in this country, which is, in other words, it could be the Strong Cities Initiative with the, uh, an international police force, as was recommended by, the U.S. Attorney General, and also it could be something that whereby people will demand it, even the public, because they want to be safe. This is what's even why this is why these policies are being pursued even in Europe. Some people are saying, yeah, it's to destroy the white race, it's to destroy Christianity, whatever. It's beyond that. It's actually to having a reason to implement much, much, much stronger and tighter controls, like a police state to the max. Just as just as the 911 Twin Towers coming down was a complete freaking setup perpetrated by the U.S. government and Saudi, um, which led to the Patriot Act, which is a misnomer to the max. It's actually the Gestapo Act, which led to Homeland Security, which led to, um, you know, more requirements for banks to report put things on suspicious activity reports, and also led to the TSA at the airports. Well, by bringing in more and more refugees and having more and more problems in the United States, they're going to have an excuse to bring about a supplementation of local police by not just federal police, not just by Homeland Security, but by international police. This has been their game. This is why Hillary Clinton wants to bring in. She wanted to bring in 700,000 Muslims. Now I think they're still bringing them in anyway, not just in Hawaii and Oregon, where these two judges, um, you know, would not comply with Donald Trump's executive order. But I think our military is bringing them in. Do not trust people in uniform. I'm going to tell you that right now. For the most part, they will lick the boots of freaking Adolf Hitler. I'm going to tell you, actually, um, if you look and study carefully back in Germany how things went, even the Gestapo, which now is a dirty word today, acted more polite to people on the surface than what you see goes on in the United States. Even the Gestapo. Now, bringing these refugees, this video is not going to be monetized because I can tell you, first, you utter one word, whether it's ISIS, even if it's in a joke, for crying out loud, it has nothing to do with anything, nothing serious. You can have a cat named ISIS or something. YouTube will demonetize your video immediately. So and it's not just, well, let me put it this way: YouTube is bought out by Google, and Google is owned by the CIA government. It's owned by the deep state. Policy is being directed on Google through YouTube to force an issue whereby you don't talk about this at all. You could take all these conservatives, whatever the hell is on Fox News, which I don't like. Bill O'Reilly, I think he's a jerk. He's a fake conservative. But I don't even know what a conservative is, but he will tell you various things about the refugees and this and that, or maybe he'll say that, but he's not telling you why they're being brought here. They're being brought here for a specific reason, and that is to destabilize the United States so they have the next solution. Which, Henry Kissinger even said this many years ago, allegedly at a Bilderberg meeting. Maybe to paraphrase him, not exactly, but um, it was Americans would look at an international peacekeeping force today with abhorrence, but given the right amount of tensions and problems, they would welcome it. And that's exactly why Hillary Clinton wanted 700,000 Muslim refugees to come here, because they would be, fighting Islamic terrorists. That's what they would be. Hell bent on destroying Americans and American way of life. Now, it's also part of number one on maintain humanity under 500 million perpetual balance in nature, right? That's also part of the game. But you're not going to get the truth out on, well, they are, I'm going to put on another separate video too about what they're doing, why they're actually hammering the shit out of independent producers on YouTube, because I'll tell you about that a little bit later. But what I'm going to be doing as a stratagem is I'm going to give you information within videos rather than a specific title topic. So you might hear one line that'll drop a tidbit on a video. Maybe not, it's like it may be a more serious video, maybe it won't be a more serious video, whereas I can't directly put out the information because they'll stop it. That's what happens. And there is no other venue out there, no matter what you say. I could create a website, host a service, and yeah, I can reach 100 people. YouTube is the place to reach the most amount of people right now. VidMe is a joke. I mean, it's very tiny. Facebook censors the crap out of everybody to ridiculous amounts. Tumblr is garbage. Everything else out there is shit. This is the only venue we got. Now, I know they ain't going to like this video because it mentioned the word ISIS. Now, I'll tell you this, too. A lot of people don't realize how much of a hand Muslims had directly in the Holocaust and exterminating Jews during World War II. It was not just the Nazis. But that's a part of history that is politically incorrect today. They will not tell you that. I'll also tell you this. Hundreds of years before Muhammad was even born, there was treaties between the Parthians and Rome, or treaties between the Persians and Rome, or treaties before even Rome in the Greek empires, right? The Greek city-states. Those treaties were always broken every single time there was an opportunity where they had the power to they thought they had the power to do so. So it's not like a religious thing. It's not having to really do with Islam. It's been the nature of the beast since day one. That's how it's been. Naive people, it's like, well, whatever. I mean, it's not a matter of being liberal. It's not a matter of being conservative or political or anything. It's a matter of understanding the situation. The situation is not what you think it is. And I know some people, there's a major push on the major media, like they'll show like a little girl who's in a wheelchair or something. She's a refugee and she's being stopped by Donald Trump for coming here to get medical care or something. And they'll show that, but they're not showing the real picture for a reason. And anything when the major media all gets on one campaign and says something, the opposite is true. That's always a given. We all know that. That's 101 as far as like knowing the truth goes right there. You know that to be a fact. But nobody that is criticizing these refugees is telling you why they're coming here, why the policy is being directed this way, why the Social Security Administration is going to give all of them Social Security or whatever to live here. And then they'll be funded, and they'll be funded terrorists by the government itself. Why is this? It's because it's to break down society, control it, and maybe depopulate it too. Maybe, create a situation where people are going to have to be rounded up and put into camps to be safe. How's that? Who the hell knows? I mean, they don't really know. See, even the people on the top that are the planners that are using the refugees as a reason to get more control over the United States, they don't really have a rigid game plan. They have a game plan, but not a non-flexible game plan. In other words, if something seems like it's working a little bit better, they go where they think it's going to be working better for more control, more power for them. It's always been the case. But you can never, ever, but it's actually been in the nature of, I read a lot of Roman history, and I've read how many times, I don't know, it's been in the culture of Persia. And now, I mean, you could take the average person in Iran. They're really cool, right? I mean, fine. Yeah, I know that. I know of people that are in business that are Iranian, right? Way back, right? They were good. But they were connected to the Shah's family, actually. They were connected to the Shah's family. They weren't connected to the religious clerics. But before Muhammad was even around, this was the game plan. It was always the game of deceit. You make a deal when you're weak, and then when you're strong, you strike. Now, one of the things that we're probably going to do with this nuclear deal with Iran is that we are actually going to use this as a setup, so when they violate it, they get attacked. And really, why we're in Syria right now is that Syria is a problem to the security of Israel if Iran was attacked. So you'd have to topple the regime in Syria and make Syria basically not be a problem where, Israel could get attacked, then an attack can go forward on Iran. The game plan actually is to destroy Iran, but the other part of the game plan is to take over the United States and make it into a controlled police state, and it already pretty much is with, the NSA spying and everybody and all this. Now, Trump is not going to be able to say, NSA, you're fired, or NSA, you're done. He's one guy. But I'm telling you the absolute. So don't, when people say, oh, the refugees are carrying tuberculosis, the refugees are carrying AIDS, the refugees are carrying malaria, whatever. That's true. The refugees, you don't know which refugees are radicals. But that's almost like you're not looking at the issue. The issue is they are deliberately bringing in the refugees to destabilize the United States so they can bring in a international police force and more rules and more controls. That's why they're doing this in Europe. A more tightly controlled society, and probably a society with much fewer people, because as you notice, number one on this Georgia Guidestones is not a joke. Of course, the Georgia Guidestones is protected by the Georgia State Police. Remember this, which will tell you a lot about, just, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, right? That's why I kind of freaking lost all respect for anybody in uniform, because they will not, anybody who's in a uniform a long time, they've already learned how to sell out many times over, or look the other way, or keep their mouth shut about shit that's wrong. They will never stick their neck out, because they got their pay in bennies. So anyway, just want to give you the information on this. Refugees are specifically being told the policy to bring no refugees here. I know I said this many times, but just it's like people sometimes. I have to say this many times because people just don't get it. It's like they're, well, they say, well, the refugees are this or the refugees are that, or whatever. And it's the bad word to use. Actually, they're militants. The radical Muslim elements are being invited and paid for with Social Security checks to come here to destabilize the society so they can come in with tighter controls and bring about a police state. There's no doubt about this. Lindsey Graham, the Republicans, I can't believe these people, Republican, whatever the hell they are. What I'm really kind of hoping is, I hope these guys trip up and the freaking whole damn freaking government got defaults and all these jackasses in government just go under. They might. It may come to pass that, they could be unleashing something they don't quite understand, and it could be coming back to bite them in the ass too, which is quite often the case. Not everybody that's the most intelligent and makes the best plans, and has things go the way they want it. There's winners and losers, and it may be a turn this time for some of the jackasses on the top in this country that are pulling all this evil policies. Trump's legit, pretty much. He is, but you got to remember, he can only do so much. He's not going to him to go against the grain, against everybody, all at once in every single direction, would be totally suicidal. It'd be ridiculous. You can't create that many enemies. He's got to appease some people. I know he realizes what's going on, but he's got to wheel and deal the best. They don't like him in there. He was, but I'll get onto a separate subject on the next video, which will not be monetized because they're not going to like this one too. But I want to tell you that I'm going to be dropping hints within other videos on some things, rather than putting it out directly. And there's a modus operandi where they are trying to control the net, and that'll be the subject of this video I'm going to put after this, which will not be monetized, because I'm going to be telling you the truth and exactly what they're trying to do and why I know they're trying to do this. Okay? So just remember, policies for refugees are deliberate, and it's for creating a situation of such havoc that people will demand, or the survivors, whoever's left from these refugees that don't get killed by the refugees, will demand a solution to be safe. And they got this solution already on the shelf. Just got to dust it off and it'll be put right in there. Just like they played with 911, which was a created event by our U.S. government in cooperation with the Saudis. It was to Patriot Act was already written, ready for an event to happen. And Patriot Act is a crappy name for it. It's the Gestapo Nazi Act. That's exactly what it is. And they implemented it. George Bush implemented it, right? Well, guess what? His father, George Bush, and H.W. Bush, Prescott Bush, they're all a bunch of damn Nazis. But on the same time, same token, I can't tell you I'm not on board with the communist Clintons either. So anyway, over and out.